Hey everybody, welcome to today's video. My name is Sebastian. I do streaming over on Twitch as Bigfoot Believes, and I've been dabbling a little bit into YouTube, so I thought that a great way to start out this year would be to do a review video for my top 5 games on Nintendo Switch for 2022. As I was putting this list together, I realized that most of these games are smaller indie games, so I'm hoping that these can give you some inspiration to some games that you've maybe never played before. To narrow things down for myself, I made some rules, which were A, that I had to play the games on the Nintendo Switch. I play a lot of games, so if we opened it up to like PC and PlayStation, that'd be a lot of games. So the games that I played on the Nintendo Switch, and they're games that I played during 2022, even if they didn't come out in 2022. Also, I'm going to say roughly 2022 because honestly, 2020 until now has been a blur, but roughly played it in 2022. And with that, let's get right into it. Alright, so first up on our list coming in at number 5 is Catacomb Kitties. Catacomb Kitties is probably the smallest game I've played this year, but definitely not without its charm. It's a micro RPG that randomly spawns worlds, dungeons, and towns every time you start a new game. You get to choose from 6 different classes of characters, and for this playthrough I decided to use a magic type. And I noticed that even the different kinds of like spells and abilities that you get within the classes you choose are also randomly generated. As you can see here, it's creating the randomly spawned world. And then we get to go in, and here is our world that will be different from any other playthrough. It's definitely different than the times I've played on my own, with a little bit of different scenery. There was like a desert this time, which was different than before. Then you come in as you are exploring the world, fights will come and spawn up. The fighting style is pretty simple. It reminds me of Pokemon, where you kind of just have different attacks that you can use. I really enjoyed using the magic type this time as I hadn't before, as it gave you some different options rather than just fight. You actually had different magic spells that you could use, and you had to make sure that you didn't run out of magic as you were using it. You earn rewards and XP for defeating enemies, such as like money, and the more enemies you defeat, the stronger and stronger you get. Each playthrough is pretty short. You have 9 lives to defeat 2 dungeons, 1 dungeon to get the key, and then you use the key to get into the master dungeon. So each playthrough is pretty short, but if you try to go into the dungeons before you're ready, you will get your butt kicked. You can tell that the creators put a lot of heart into it. The graphics are delightful, and it's just a really cute, fun game to play. It's also really worth the price. I think I paid about $5 US for this game, so, really good pricing there. The only complaint about the game is that I want more. So it's not really too much of a complaint. As you can kind of see here, there isn't much to do when you go into the towns. Once you start talking to the NPCs, they kind of just start saying the same thing. So really my only complaint about this game is I wish there was more. I love being in this world, so I think it would have been cool if you could read books, interact with the bookshelves, peek into cabinets and see what the NPCs have inside. It would be cool if the NPCs started like gossiping about each other. Just little things to make the world more fleshed out. However, like I said, this game is like $5, so I don't expect that much from a $5 game, and I shouldn't expect that much from a $5 game. However, I think that this game has great potential to grow if the developers wanted to update it and raise the price a little bit, or come out with DLC, or come out with a sequel. And here I just wanted to show you what some of the towns look like. Where I was at before was a hospital. I died. But here is a town that you can go to where you can buy things. Different items cost different money, and you can use them throughout your gameplay. On to number 4, we have For the King. I've never personally seen other people talking about this game. And personally, I really think that's a shame. It was my first roguelike strategy RPG, and I had a blast playing it. I've never played strategy games before. My only other experience with strategy games was watching my dad play Rome on PC growing up. So honestly, my expectations weren't high, but I found myself having so much fun with this one. As you can see here, it even warns you when you open up the game not to expect to complete it on your first playthrough. And I usually don't like games that are like too challenging. They usually really frustrate me, but I didn't find myself frustrated or bored, which I think is saying a lot for my first game of this kind. It was a challenging game, but it was fun. As you can see here, you can choose different kinds of adventures, and I was never able to complete any of them, but I still had fun with it, even though I tried a bunch of times and never completed a mission. And then you come inside the kind of, I wouldn't call it like a character creation mode, but you do get to build your party, and you can customize your party. As you can see here, you can open up a thing where you can see each kind of class's stats. You can unlock more classes as gameplay goes on. It tells you about their special abilities. It also shows you their stats for different things like strength, health, intelligence, speed, how far that they can move every round. You were also able to customize the colors and a little bit of the clothing of each member of your party. All right, and then gameplay, like I said, it is kind of almost like a combination of D&D and like strategy. You start out with a mission. They're giving you the mission there, and then after you get your mission, you start out by moving your party. It's almost like a roll. You can move a certain number of spaces, as you can see there, and then there are enemies along the way or other things that block the paths. This is why I am only moving my character a certain number of spaces so I don't engage in combat until the rest of my party is there with me to engage in the combat. And then once I'm ready and I have my whole party with me in the combat area, I choose to engage in combat and I can try to ambush the character or just fight them. I can even try to sneak past them. And you have stats that will help or hinder you with those things. Each player gets a chance to attack the enemy. You also have stats that affect that. Each move has a certain percentage, as you can see, of the chance that you will succeed with the full damage of the attack. And attacks take different things such as strength or brains. As you can see there, that move took 3 brains. So you do earn like different moves and different weapons as you go on, and you want to be strategic about which member of your party you give those to. You can open up your stats at any time to see what your party is like dealing with, what stats that they have, so that you can give the right moves and right weapons to the right member. And when you defeat an enemy, that's one of the times that you earn those items, and then you might want to open the stats and see which member that will serve best. For example, with that one, I chose to give the weapon to my party member with the most strength because the arm symbols showed that weapon took strength to use. And that's mainly it with gameplay. It's just kind of moving around, fighting enemies, trying to complete your objectives, using strategy methods to do so. It's equally fun, challenging, and a little goofy. I like the graphics and the character system, and it made an unfamiliar genre feel really friendly. This game was perfect for just completely zoning out and getting my mind off of whatever I was thinking about, and it actually helped me through a really dark spot in my life, so I'm really grateful to the game for that. It just let me step away from my own life and into the shoes of a knight or a healer or a cleric and see what they got up to on their adventure. So now comes our only big name on the list, and it is a controversial one, so bear with me. Third favorite Switch game of this year is Nintendo Sports. Now listen, it has its problems, and we will get to them, but I honestly had so much fun playing this game that I couldn't not put it on my list. Well, there was a lot of controversy around this new character creation system with getting rid of the Miis. But since I was never too attached to Miis, besides like the general nostalgia, because let's be honest, Miis are pretty unsettling. I love the new character creation system. It's so cute. The items that you collect throughout the game are super cute. The hairstyles that I'm going through, I think you only start out with like a handful. I want to say 4 or 5, and then you earn the rest. I would give props to the creative designer on this team for making things that are generally like pretty, I would say, up to date, pretty trendy. I mean, it's a Nintendo game. There's always going to be some kind of silly stuff. Character creation is my personal favorite part of any game, and because you earn new equipment, hairstyles, clothes, and stamps through gameplay, it really gave me an incentive to keep playing. The graphics are just nice to look at too. Not just the characters, but the world building, the sports equipment. Everything is just very aesthetic, very nice to look at. And on to the actual gameplay. The motion controls are really smooth. The gameplay is fun. It's creative. I like that there's an online mode. For me, that always gives me like incentive. It always feels good, like the competition aspect, I guess. The motion controls are really responsive and really smooth. I mean, you have to like really be on your toes. Like, it is very quick, it is very smooth. You really have to pay attention to what you're doing, or you will not win. And then here is where the getting items comes in. So after you lose or win a game, you earn points for it, and those points rack up, and then you can get gifts. As you can see, I just got one, and then it is like randomized per section. And so I earned a stamp. So you can go into the customization section. The stamps are kind of almost like emojis. You can use them in gameplay to kind of like show how you're feeling. I think it's a really cute, fun aspect of the game for personalization. And yeah, you can personalize your stamps. My personal favorite sport is bowling. There's something really soothing about it. Oh, also here you can see people using their stamps kind of as emojis. I have the gameplay sped up a bit because bowling takes a long time. I didn't even use the whole clip, but that's kind of why I like it. It's really soothing. Feels like kind of just easy and something that you can just zone out to. I wish that I was had been able to use the sounds of the game, because the sounds of like the pins knocking over is really relaxing. I think maybe that's why I like it too. You can use your motion controls to give the ball like a spin if you're like fancy like that and use actual bowling techniques. You can kind of like tilt your avatar so that they are like bowling at a diagonal. Also, I wasn't able to get a clip of it, but there are actually different bowling modes, and there's like a harder mode where there are like barriers in the middle of the lane, or chunks of the lane that like move, things like that that just keep it interesting and make it like really fun to play, and just, shake things up a little bit when it gets redundant. That being said, I never really found it getting redundant, and that is saying a lot for me. I get bored really easily. I have ADHD. Any game I get bored of easily, and honestly, when I bought this game, I expected it to be fun for like a couple days. I really did. But honestly, I have been playing this game, I think, for several weeks now, and I have double digits of gameplay hours in, and I still find myself going back and picking it up. Something else that I find kind of cool about Nintendo Sports is that, and maybe this was part of Wii Sports, I don't know, I didn't play too much of Wii Sports, but you are get a ranking system. Once you get like good enough at the sports, you enter. As you get better and better, you rank up more and more. But if you want to turn that setting off, you can, and you can just play without the ranks. So I think that's cool too. And then here, I'm just kind of showing you the different kits that are out that you can get rewards from, and when you complete an entire thing, um, like when you get all of the rewards, you get those cute outfits. All right, and then we can talk about the cons. Money. This game costs too much and it expects too much from the player. I don't know about the physical copy, but at least the digital copy, you cannot locally play with your friends unless they make a guest profile, and then when they do, they cannot earn points or collect items, which, as I said earlier, is the main pull of the game. That is incredibly disappointing. It expects each person to have their own copy of the game, and with the game selling for $40 US, that is very steep. I'm really disappointed in that. Like, if I had known that going in, I honestly might not have bought it just because I think that it is such like a money grab. And yeah, I was really disappointed with that. Especially, I think, since the point of these kind of like Nintendo sports games should be and have always been making memories with people. However, that being said, I have been able to have fun playing with my girlfriend and my parents, even in guest mode, and I think I have gotten that experience. I just wish that they would let you create more profiles on a single game without asking you to pay $40 for each person. Maybe try buying the physical copy. I don't know if that helps or not, but maybe you're able to do it if you have the physical copy. Not sure. Do some research before you buy it for the Switch Lite. I have no idea if it even works on the Switch Lite, seeing as you have to use motion controls. Okay, I am so excited to talk about this game, my second favorite game on the Nintendo Switch this year. It was actually way lower on my list originally. It came in at number 4, but when I opened the game, I found that there had been an update, and that update fixed so many of the problems that had it lower on my list before. Best Friend Forever combines aspects of pet care simulation and dating sim. You move to a new place, get a dog, and meet a bunch of hotties with their own dogs and date them. The people, not the dogs. This game gets a 10 out of 10 on concept for me. Growing up on Nintendogs, I thought this concept was such a fresh and fun new take on the dating sims genre, and I love dating simulators. Love that there was like something new for me to take away from a dating sim and not just a visual novel. I love a good visual novel, but they can get kind of boring. So I love that this breaks up the monotony of a visual novel and gives you something to do throughout the weeks. The story is told on like a weekly basis, so every single week you have to take care of your dog. There's kind of like a plot about training your dog and making sure that your dog is trained by the end of the game. And your dog had different traits, and you need to make sure that all of those traits are balanced. And so each week you do different training exercises to make sure that your dog is getting trained in all of those different areas. And then you also have like almost energy slots that lets you decide like which events you want to do that week. Every week has different like dates, personal events, and then just like non-date social events, and you have certain energy slots, and you have to choose how you would like to spend your energy that week. As I have said many times in this video, the character creation aspect of a game is really important to me, and even though you don't get to create your own character, this didn't bother me because the choices that you do get to have for your character were really cute, really stylish, and all of them felt gender neutral to me, which I really appreciated. It didn't give you like a guy, a girl, and a non binary character. In my eyes at least, it felt like every single one of those characters could be any gender, which I really appreciated, and I thought it was cool how they made all three different iterations of the character look like the same person, just with like maybe a different gender identity. And then, of course, you can pick your own pronouns, which I think is very important. And you can use she, her, they, them, or he, him. This seems to be pretty standard within the dating simulation genre, although I hope to see pronouns get even more diverse with maybe like she, they, he, they, and some more neo pronouns. I also thought that this cast was really good. I felt like it was very diverse and that the diversity really shone on gender identity, age, and disability representation. This was probably the first dating sim I've seen that had a like visibly disabled character. And that character actually ended up being my favorite character in the game. This character is blind and has a seeing eye dog, and I felt they did a really good job balancing discussing disability without making it like this is the blind guy. I never felt like this was the blind guy. I always felt like this is the hot guy. When I say that it's shown in diversity of age, there's still nobody above 40. All the ages of the people are between like 20, and I think the oldest person is about 38. However, you hardly ever see that in dating sims except for later daters, which we can get into another day because that is a fun game. I feel like dating simulators usually have people in their 20s and that's it. So there were two characters in this game in their mid to late 30s, and I thought that was really cool to see. Not everybody in their 20s just dates people in their 20s, and not everybody's in their 20s, and not everybody that's the audience of this game might not be in their 20s, and they might feel weird dating people in their 20s. So the complaints that I had about the game, I think, have mainly been fixed. My main complaint of the game was the replayability aspect. In a previous version of the game, you couldn't skip events you had already played, so it was really challenging to replay the game and date the different characters, and it honestly started feeling like a grind. However, when I went back into the game, it seems that they have added in the option setting. I noticed that there are different options for skipping. So I believe that this problem has been fixed, and if so, that like improves the game so much. They also added a lot of new content, such as new dogs. They added like in three new different dogs. The raccoon was not there in the previous version. I was so excited to see the raccoon there. I thought that was so cool. Um, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was like new events and new dates. So that is why it's gone so much higher up on my list, because it is genuinely a really good game. For me, this cast of characters might be some of the most like human, fleshed out, heartfelt cast of characters that I've seen in a dating simulator for a long time. Dream Daddy will always be my number one favorite dating simulator ever, and I don't know if anything will ever match that, but this game came pretty damn close. I will say that at least on the Switch, the gameplay can still be a little clunky. If you were able to purchase this game on PC, I might recommend doing that just because the game still elicits a cursor system, and the cursor feels really clunky to use on the Switch. I think it's cool that it's not like just a press A, press A, press A visual novel, and that you are able to use the cursor as you get your dog. You can interact with your dog whenever you want, which I think is such a cool idea. That's such like a fresh take. So I think that's cool, but it can feel really clunky and it can be hard to get the cursor where you need it. So that would be my main complaint of this game. But besides that, it is my second favorite game of the year and one of my favorite dating simulators of all time. And finally, the game that my parents have relentlessly teased me over this entire year, that my dad even said he hoped wasn't on my list, Well, psych, Dad, because not only is this game on my list, it is my game of the year. My number one game is none other than Boyfriend Dungeon. If you've seen a game on my list before besides Nintendo Sports, I'm assuming that it's Boyfriend Dungeon. But if you haven't heard of Boyfriend Dungeon, then I am so excited to be the one to get to tell you about it. Similarly to Best Friend Forever, this takes the dating sim genre and adds a new aspect to the gameplay. Also, I just wanted to point out this content warning. I really appreciate that this game does that, and I really think that more games should add content warnings. Anyways, back to gameplay. So, this game takes a dating sim and combines aspects of dungeon crawler to it. And it's probably one of the most creative concepts I've ever seen. So, in a world where some humans can turn into weapons, you date your weapons to level them up. It takes away the aspects of visual novels that feel repetitive and boring by giving you actual combat and plot to beat your way through the game. Not only that, but the plot is genuinely compelling. You find yourself like genuinely concerned for the characters inside the world and what will happen if you win or lose inside a dungeon and like the greater battle that you find yourself facing. The character creation system is really cute. Even though you don't get like a full concept art of your character, I really like the little sprite. I think it's really cute, and you can unlock goofy outfits as you keep playing. Um, in this game, you can customize your name and pronouns, which we always love to see. I do hope to see someday getting some neo pronouns or multiple sets of pronouns in games like this as time goes on. But I think it's really cool that you don't have to choose a body type. You just put like hair and clothes and eyes on your character. I think that's a really important thing in character creation that we're seeing being done is like straying away from like male and female body types and just having one body type, putting clothes on it, and then maybe choosing your pronouns. And I think that's the right way to go with gaming. So, my girlfriend and I do not usually play dungeon crawlers or enjoy them, but this gameplay was fun. I loved the combat, I loved the gameplay. Every weapon has a different fighting style, and you can like genuinely feel the difference of it. So, there's something for everyone. There's swords, battle axes, spiked knuckles. Like the difference in the gameplay with the combat is something that you can actually feel, and I think that is so cool because it's not boring. You want to go back to the dungeons even after you've beaten them, which you can play them as many times as you want because there are so many different fighting styles to use. I was only able to show a couple of them just because you unlock new weapons slash dateable characters as the gameplay goes on. So I wasn't able to, like do several hours of gaming for this video just to show the different weapons, but you do unlock many different weapons as you go on. The layers of the dungeon are really pretty to look at, and there's little places for you to find and explore, so it's not just mindless fighting. There's like an exploration aspect to it, too. You can also personalize things in the game, such as like the drink that helps heal you. I have it set to boba because boba is my favorite drink, but you can choose like coffee or soda. I think there's like a choice for like water. We love to see it. We love her. We love water. And besides the dungeon crawler aspect, the dating sim is great too. The art for the dateable characters is beautiful, and even though it's a little bit of a smaller cast than some dating sims, every character felt so different from each other that it didn't get boring. My favorite part was like getting to meet more dateable characters as time went on. I don't really want to spoil the cast for you, but I'll just say that my personal favorite dateable characters are Isaac, Rowan, and Seven. Um, Everyone's stories are really heartfelt, and Or maybe not everyone's. I would actually argue there were a couple of characters that didn't feel as fleshed out that I didn't like as much, but my favorite characters, I felt like their stories were really heartfelt, and it was nice to get to spend extra time with them when you're inside a dungeon fighting with them. It probably won't ever not sound weird to say you date your weapons, but there really was something intimate about that aspect of it that made it feel more intimate than other dating sims, like and that does sound really weird, but I don't know, it's true. There was just something very extra special about like getting to spend more time with the characters that you're dating and like go through something as intimate as like literally like fighting for your life. With risk comes intimacy and vulnerability. This cast is also diverse. I feel like it highlights on aspects of gender identity the most. There is a character that is gender fluid, and I have not seen that in a dating sim in a long time. So that was really cool. My favorite part about this game that I think every dating sim should start incorporating is that you can date every character through completion without having to choose. Like, there's no point in the game where it forces you to choose, there's no event where it forces you to choose. You can keep playing the game and date as many characters as you want without having it affect your other relationships with other characters. I think that's so brilliant. Not only just because it makes it easier, because it does, it makes the like playability of the game so much more fluid and so much easier, but also I think that's diverse in itself because there are people who date multiple people. I think it like opens up the doors for representation for polyamorous people, and I also think it's just kind of like realistic. You don't spend too much time. I think this game only takes place over maybe a couple weeks, um a couple months max. And so I think it's realistic that in that amount of time, you wouldn't be like exclusively dating just one person. I think it makes sense to, be exploring your options and dating multiple people. So I like that aspect for the playability, the diversity, and the realism. It also means you don't need multiple save slots. You don't even need to play it multiple times. You can just play the entire game, at your own pace, and you can keep playing and dating even after you've completed the main storyline. Although, if you do want like the full ending scene with all the characters, I do recommend you finish everybody's dating stories before finishing the main plot line. But you don't have to, and you can even go back and finish the main plot after you've completed it once. You also have the option to be just romantic or completely platonic with some or all the characters. So that really opens the doors for the way that you want to spend your relationships. You could go through the entire game just being friends with everybody, or you could be friends with some characters but not all. You could just have romantic relationships without them being sexual, or there are some options for sexual choices as well, but the game gives you full control over all of those. That's one thing I did like about the game, was just like how in control you were with all of your choices, like with the content warning at the beginning of the game, and being able to choose what kind of relationships you have with everyone. And another thing that they let you choose is there is a character named Mom, and they ask you if you would like to receive supportive text messages from that character. And I think that is really cool because not everybody will be wanting to receiving like a ton of text messages from a character named Mom for various reasons. So I really like that. I would say that my only complaint about this game is that some of the characters didn't feel as fleshed out to me as other characters. I would say for me, the characters on Best Friend Forever might have felt a little bit more fleshed out. But there were certain characters in this game, especially for me, like Rowan and Seven, that felt very, very fleshed out and very, very human. And I was able to like form a connection with. But there were other characters like Valeria and Sunder that just felt very flat. That is like my singular complaint, and it did not stop me from like spending so much time in this game and replaying this game and loving this game. And so, because of its easy replayability, lovable characters, fresh take on the genre, and genuinely fun gameplay, that is why Boyfriend Dungeon is my game of the year. And with that, I hope that you enjoyed my review video for my top 5 favorite games on the Switch for 2022. What were your favorite games of 2022? Have you played any of the ones that we discussed? My hope going into this video was to kind of highlight some smaller games that I haven't really heard anybody talking about so that those games and their creators can get the love they deserve. And if you want to see more from me, like I said earlier, I do streaming on Twitch all the time as Bigfoot Believes. I usually play like Five Nights at Freddy's or The Sims, but I do all kinds of stuff and we have a great time over there, so check me out if you want to. You can check out the streams I've already done on my second YouTube channel, Bigfoot Believes Streams. That is where I upload all of my streaming videos. I should have that linked somewhere on this YouTube page. I have a Ko-Fi hooked up if you want to check out that. It's in the description and on the main page of my YouTube. And then if you want to see more YouTube videos like this or edited down versions of my live streams, I'll be doing that as well on this YouTube channel. So make sure you hit subscribe if you want to see more so that you know when those YouTube videos come out. And finally, if you enjoyed this YouTube video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and typing a comment down below. It's really nice to hear from you and it means a lot to me. And with that, have a wonderful rest of your day. Have a great start to your new year and happy gaming. See you later, everybody.